Did you see what the team at HIVEON released this week? It's finally arrived. The Bitmain Antminer L7 HIVEON firmware. What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the Hobbyist Miner channel. Well, in today's video, we are taking a look at the Bitmain Antminer L7 HIVEON OS firmware that just released this week. So let's go over and take a look at their website and I'll show you exactly what's going on. All right, so we're over on HIVEON.com, and if you come over here, they actually have a little bar at the top, the first L7 ASIC firmware on the market. You know, little thing at the top here, it says up to 30% additional hash rate. So you can click ASIC firmware. And then if you scroll down, this is where they have all their firmware that's available for all the different models out there. If you click choose firmware, you can see there's a whole drop down menu. You have the S19 series, T19, S17, T17, L3 Plus, which I've used that. Now the L7, they have the S10, S9, and the T9 Plus. So as I said, I've used the L3 Plus, and that works really well. I have that on 2 models. I've used the S19J Pro, that works well. I have that on a model. And what you can do is come down here to L7. So once you click on L7, you can see some of the advertised stats. And I always say advertised stats is just kind of like that fair warning or soft message, because really, you really have to test this. One, you have to test, the hash rate, and are you truly getting the hash rate that's advertised? And then second, the power consumption, because as we've learned as home crypto miners, your power consumption can really fluctuate, especially if it's saying here, like it's saying that it's 1,960 watts within the software. Well, what does it show at the wall? Because at the end of the day, that's really what we're being charged against. So quite a few different profiles here that you guys can see. It actually doesn't matter what L7 you have, the HIVEON OS software will do no problem adjusting it. So they have hash rate starting at 6 and going up in 0.5 increments all the way up to 11. So pretty badass as of this point in time. So now let's go ahead and jump into the firmware and take a look and actually see how it performs. Now, if you're looking for like, whoa, hold the phone, how do I install it? No worries. Stay till the end of the video. At the end of the video, I have a full guide on how to install the HIVEON OS software directly on your L7. Okay, I've jumped into my HIVEON OS, and this is where I have to give a huge shout out. So I don't own an L7. I wish I did, but I don't. So I actually reached out and was able to get access to the L7 from the team over at Coastal Crypto Mining. So if you guys do want to check them out, I'll put a link directly down below to Coastal Crypto Mining. Huge thanks to them for making theirs available today so that we can go ahead and test this out and see how it does. The model that we're actually working on today, they have right on their site here. So the Bitmain Antminer L7 9300, that is actually what we're testing out and using today. Huge shout out once again to Coastal Crypto Mining for providing me their L7. All right, let's take a look at the L7. So this has been running for a total of 24 hours, and I did a bunch of testing on their different presets. So if you're familiar with the HIVEON OS firmware, it all looks the same. It's very familiar, very similar here. So it's very easy to navigate. So once you come in here, you have overview, which will show you the different hash boards and how they're performing, their watts, their volts. It'll show you all the details, their temperatures right in here, which is super nice. You can also see your fan speeds in here, your load averages, all those details are right within the software. Now, this is where you actually set your flight sheet. So you don't even have to go over to the actual ASIC itself. You can do everything through the firmware. You don't have to log into the IP address to do anything. So in here, I have gone ahead and set up my wallet address for Litecoin. Now, don't worry, DOGECOIN fans, you'll get paid out in Litecoin and DOGECOIN, but within the software, you set it up for LTC with your Scrypt mining. So I've set mine up within here to mine to pull in, and we're going to check out that performance in just a minute. In addition to that, you can take a look at your overclocking, which is, I think, everybody is interested in, right? So you guys remember we looked at the different profiles. We started at 6 and it went up to 11. This is where you set that. You don't have to go over to the miner. The nice thing about the firmware. So if you click the drop-down menu, you can see that you see everything from default, and then you see all of those through here. And it actually shows your gains and details, hash rates, where you're going to go to. Traditionally you're at 9.3 gigahash for this model, but it actually goes up to 11. Now, I've chatted with the HIVEON team to get some more details here, chatted with Coastal Crypto Mining. If you guys go to 11, you actually, and it sounds crazy, right? When you go to 11, you actually need a different power supply to support this. So here's your fair warning, L7 owners. Don't try to go to 11. I've tried it. It crashes the ASIC. Don't try to go to 11. It will not work. You need a bigger, beefier power supply to support the demand with the overclocking. So I tested a bunch of these out through here, and I thought what would be most interesting for home miners is checking out some of these low power modes. So I will be honest, I checked out the 6000, so the 6 gigahash option, which says at 1960 watts. I tried it and it was failing for me. It may work for you guys. I want to be transparent, but I did find some stability at the 6.5 gigahash option, which is in the software is listed at 2100 watts. Now, watts are huge, especially when we're talking about low power modes. I mean, I think traditionally this uses, what does it say here? I think it's 3,425 watts. So taking a look at your different options within here, you know, a 1960 watt option would be awesome, but I couldn't get it to work. So I wanted to show you guys the 6500 or 6.5 gigahash version, which was 2100 watts. Now, a fair warning, what I found with my L3 pluses is that with the L3 plus, it whatever it says in the software, so it said in the software about 660 watts, it was a 5 to 6% difference between in the software and what is at the wall. So if we take a look at that, I don't have the unit on premise here, on property, in order to test this physically, or else I would test it on the wall. So I'm basing this off of my L3 and HIVEON's situation between 660 watts on my L3. So with that being said, let's go ahead and add 6% onto this. So if it's 2100 watts, let's times it by 6%. So that's 126 watts more than what the software says. So in reality, let's just round it and say 2200 watts is what you would actually get for the wattage at this hash rate. But let's look at performance. How did this thing do running at 6.5 gigahash for 24 hours? Because you're going to sacrifice performance for watts, right? But what does that look like? How much LTC did we mine at 6.5? And how much Dogecoin did we mine at 6.5? All right, so I'm over here on Pullin. I created a sub account specifically for this. Nothing else has been on this sub account at all because I wanted to provide as much transparency as I could for you guys. Because if you guys are going to make decisions to use the HIVEON OS, I want to make sure you guys can see it fully. So here's our worker. Now we've had it running for literally 24 hours and 4 minutes. Like I wanted to get down to that minute almost. So in a 24-hour period, the average is 6.56. So it's averaging that 6.5 gigahash that we selected in the software. Now, yes, it does fluctuate. It goes up to like 7, it goes down, you can see the 5. So I not only see it on the pool level, but even on the miner level as well. You're seeing that fluctuate a lot. So I don't know all the details behind the firmware on like what it's doing to regulate that up and down a lot, but it does fluctuate quite a bit. You know, I'd say within 1 total gigahash back and forth. But the nice thing is it keeps it the 24 average of 6.5. So that is promising. So if we go over to earnings, we're going to see 2 different types of earnings. We're going to see at the top our LTC balance, which is listed here. So let's go ahead and see what did we make in 24 hours and 5 minutes now. So let's copy that and we're going to go over to CoinGecko and we're going to search for LTC. And now this is also reminder, this is our gross income. This isn't our total profit. This is just what we made without keeping in mind electric. So LTC, and here we go, $6.30. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that into my calculator here. So in LTC, we made $6.30 during a 24-hour period. Now let's go back to Pullin and we're going to go to our Dogecoin payments. And our Dogecoin is right here at the top, 141 and a bunch of decimal places there. So we're going to take that and we're going to come back here to CoinGecko, Dogecoin, and we're going to paste that in and $10 and some change. There we go. Okay, so total before electric costs, which is our operating cost, we made $16.63. That's pretty respectable when it comes down to you know, lowering this from 3,400 down to 2,200 for our watts, and we went from 9.3 down to 6.5. 8.5. All right, so this is a website I found, which has actually worked out really well for me in the past, which is omnicalculator.com. I'll put a link down below to it if you guys are interested. So I typed in our power consumption, 2200 watts, and then I typed in my energy price, which is 7 cents. Now I know not everyone's 7 cents, so we're gonna change this a little bit here in a minute. Based off of a 24-hour period, it gives us our total cost to run that unit was $3.70. So if I come in here, remember our $16.63 minus our $3.70, we're still profiting $12.93 a day with this low power mode with the HIVEON firmware. Now, I know that's not totally realistic. So let's come in here and let's change our electric rate to 15 cents, significantly more, right? So now, which 15 seems to be the new norm, even higher sometimes. So that puts us down to $7.92. So if we go ahead and do our 1663 minus $7.92 in electric, we're still profiting $8.71 per day with this very efficient firmware that HIVEON has come out with, and it's pretty beefy, to be honest with you. I've been super happy with it. Now, the HIVEON OS firmware has all the other bells and whistles that you would get. So not only do you have this, you have your monitoring, which is really nice, you know, your up-down statuses, which I love with my phone and the app and stuff like that, so you can kind of keep track of things. There is a tuning process as well. So like after you actually change your profiles, it'll take some time to tune it properly, so be patient. I have found it takes several minutes when you go between your overclock settings, between one and another. I mean, honestly, give it 10 minutes between there, because not only does it apply it, then it tunes it as well. There's actually some details on the right-hand side to explain it as well. You actually have the nice thing with like all the stats built in with the software if you guys haven't checked it out. And then of course, all the settings too, your naming conventions, your password information, you know, fans, you know, controlling all of that. You can do that all within the software. So you still get to benefit from all the traditional HIVEOS features that you would if you're like myself, like a GPU miner. It's just now you have it all in one place, and the monitoring's there as well, which I love because I hate not knowing when a miner actually goes down or not. All right, so now let's go through the process of actually installing this onto your L7. It's super easy, I promise. So first off, we're gonna need a way to connect to a micro SD card. So this is actually what the firmware will live on. And this will actually sit, I'm trying to get the camera to show, this will actually sit inside of your L7. There most likely is a little micro SD card slot on the front of your L7. So we want to put the firmware on this guy. So to do that, there's lots of options, and I brought a few over here. So you could go ahead and go with like an adapter like this, USB, plugs in your computer, and then you have this one actually has a boatload of different type of card slots available on it. You could also use like some really cheap ones like this, which I'll put links down below to all of these if you guys need them. And there's an SD card slot on here, a micro SD card slot. I mean, look, I even got one like this, got a little slot on it. And then finally, if you can't find something that'll work too, some laptops even have a larger SD card slot like this. And take a look, you can actually take your card and slide it right in the top here, and then you can put that in the side of your laptop. So there's lots of different options, but at the end of the day, we're going to need an SD card, and we're going to write the firmware onto this, and then it's going to exist inside of your L7. So you might have to pause the video, purchase these, wait for it to come in, but then return back here in just a second, and I'll show you how to do it on the computer. Okay, so step one, we're going to go over to the HIVEON.com website, and once you're over here, you're going to go to ASIC firmware at the very, very top. Once you click on ASIC firmware, you're then going to click download, and that's going to take you down to the section that you're looking for. Now, they have firmware for all different ASICs, so make sure that you select the appropriate one you're looking for. If you have an S19J Pro, they actually have some of those here, as well as a variety of different other models. But for us, we're looking for the Bitmain Antminer L7. So there's a drop-down menu here, choose firmware. We're going to click there, and L7 is one of the options. I'm actually running this on 2 of my L3s as well. So once you come over to L7, this is where you'd go about downloading the actual firmware. So at the very, very bottom, there's 2 different options, web upgrade package or the SD card content. We're going to go through the SD card content because I've been told this is the best way to approach this, most guaranteed, most stable version. So go ahead and click SD card content in the bottom right-hand corner, and that will download the firmware All right, step number 2. You're going to go over to the website balena.io/etcher. I'll put a link directly down below. And we're going to download the Balena Etcher software. This is a software that is going to take that firmware file and it's going to put it on that SD card. So go ahead and click download Etcher and follow the steps to install the software. It's super, super easy. Once everything has been downloaded and installed, let's go ahead and finish the process. So the first thing we have to do is go to where we downloaded the L7 firmware, and it's going to be zipped. So we're just going to right click on it. And once you right click on it, we're going to do extract all and hit extract. And now it's going to take all the files inside that compressed folder and extract them. And here they are in front of us. It actually creates a subfolder. You can see one is actually zipped. The other one is not. Take note of that file path of this folder because we're going to need that for Balena Etcher. Okay, now that we have Balena Etcher open, you're going to do flash from file and you're going to point Balena Etcher right to that folder location that we had extracted that file for. And here's that folder. We're going to go ahead and select the unzipped folder. And inside here, you can go ahead and select the one you're looking for. We actually want the disk image file path, which is for Etcher. It literally has it named that, which is awesome. We're going to click on that and hit open. The next thing is make sure your SD card is into whatever adapter you're using and plugged into your computer. You're then going to do select target and make sure you validate that the size of this is exactly what you want. You don't want to pick the wrong hard drive, right? Because it's going to appear as a hard drive. So for me, I know my adapter device is called the SDHC card, and I know that the SD card, the micro SD card, is actually 8 gigabytes. So that is the one we know. I'm going to click on it and hit select. Once you're all ready, go ahead and hit flash, and this will take maybe 2 to 3 minutes and we'll be done. So Balena Etcher finished what it was doing. Now the next thing we want to do is you want to remove this card from your computer, wait 2 or 3 minutes, and then plug it back in. All right, so if you waited long enough, 2 to 3 minutes, you're now ready for the next step. So I plugged it back into my computer and did nothing. And right away, you see that that drive actually popped up on our computer, and that's exactly what we want. So our next step is that we want to open up Notepad. So I'm going to hit the Windows key and type Notepad, and now Notepad is going to pop up on the computer. Here it is right here. This isn't super complicated, I promise. All you have to do is you see where it says within the card, right here in that folder that popped up, farm hash, click and drag that into Notepad and let go. It's now going to go ahead and open a Notepad file with nothing inside of it. All right, so now what we need to do is go over to HIVEON.com and click sign in the upper right-hand corner. And what we're gonna do is we're going to get our farm hash ID so that when you boot your L7 for the first time with the firmware in it, it shows up right within your farm. So here we're going to go in, I'm going to click on mining shed because that's the farm I want. And on the right hand side, you're going to click settings. Then you're going to scroll down until you see farm hash and just click copy to clipboard. We're then going to bring back up those items that we put in the background, the folder with our micro SD card, and then that empty notepad file. So in the notepad file, go to edit and paste, and it's going to put in our farm hash. Make sure you hit file and save. That'll save it back to the micro SD card. Now that that's all done, we can close out of everything. And the next thing is you're now ready to install this. So go ahead and pull out that micro SD card and stay tuned for what's next. All right, so now you're ready to install the firmware right into your L7. So go out to your L7, unplug the power completely. Let it sit for a minute or two, let that power drain as much as you need to. And then in the front of your L7, you're going to see a little SD card slot. Take it, plug it in. Now it should be spring loaded. So it's going to, once you put it in, it's going to be a little spring loaded. Go ahead and put that in there. Once that's done, plug back in your L7 and come back to the dashboard here, and you should see your L7 right within your farm. So that's it, guys. Simple and easy. This isn't super complicated. The team over at HIVEON has done an amazing job with the HIVEON OS, with the firmware. I've looked at it with my Bitmain Antminer S19J Pro, with the L3 Plus, and now with the L7, and it just works, and it works really, really well. So I'd be interested to hear from you guys. Test it out with your L7s and let me know how you make out. Definitely leave a comment down below. I'm curious on how you guys do. Once again, huge shout out to the team over at Coastal Crypto Mining for providing me their L7 for my testing for today. It worked out amazing. Thank you very much to those guys. Guys, go check them out. If you guys do want to check out their website, I'll put a link directly down below. Feel free to go over and check them out. If you guys enjoyed today's video on the Bitmain Antminer L7 and the HIVEON OS firmware, go ahead and give it one of these, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.